can't be found sometimes. Lord, we think that you've abandoned us and left us. We know you haven't. God, there's tests and trials and learning that we're supposed to do, God. Lord, I ask you to help us all receive a blessing. Teach us what you have us to learn, God. And we praise you for that, Lord. Help us as we move forward as a church, God. We move into the new year. Lord, let the classrooms be, the list be filled on out, God, so we'll have a full crew ready to go to work on September the 1st, or the first Sunday of September. So, God, I just ask you to have mercy on us. Lord, we don't know what we're doing. We're just trying to find you in everything we are doing. God, we need your help. Lord, without your help, we're all just foolishly lost. So, God, help us, and we'll praise you for it in Christ's name. Amen. All right. If you got your Bible, let's go, let's say, verse 9, first verse, first chapter. Sorry? What now? Ruth. Oh, yeah, I thought, same one we did last week. I'm sorry. I thought y'all knew we were going to go back to Ruth. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mention the book. So, there we in the first chapter and the 9th verse. The Bible says, the Lord grant you that you may find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said unto her, surely we will return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, turn again, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Turn again, my daughters, and go your way. For I am too old to have a husband. And if I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, would ye tarry for them till they were grown? Would ye stay for them from having would you stay them from having a husband, my daughters? For it grieves me much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. And they lifted up their voices and they wept again. And Oprah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. And she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto their people and unto their gods, or to her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, entreat me now to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go. And whether thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God shall be my God. Where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. And the Lord do so to me, and more also, if I also death part thee and me. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. To be seated. The two boys have died. We know from the study that we had last week that Elimelech, her husband, Naomi's husband, and her two sons left Bethlehem to go to Moab because there was a famine in the land. They went to Moab. The two boys married women of that country. Then shortly after that, the father died, Amalek died, and then apparently sometime after that, the two boys died. So this is because, this is a test, this is a judgment, because they left Bethlehem, which was the house of bread. They left there because there was a famine in the land. There was a harsh famine in the land, and there was nothing to eat there. But that was also a judgment of God on his people. Not that he would destroy them, not that he would make it hard on them, but that he teach them a lesson in who to trust and how long to keep trusting God. Even through the hard times of no bread, famine in the land, God will provide a way. where God sent you, where God put you, that's where He expects you to stay, in the house of bread. And she left there, going to Moab, or him, her, and the two boys left there, going to Moab in search of that greener pasture. And at that time in Moab, there was bread. There wasn't, at least there wasn't a famine in the land. And it was a little bit better off than Bethlehem, but they didn't have God there. So you're just dealing with what the flesh could do. And they did exactly what the flesh wanted to do, and God had no way He could bless it. He couldn't bless it. He couldn't bless them leaving Bethlehem and going to Moab. He could not bless that. The blessing of God could not follow them out of the land of Israel. The blessing could not follow them into the land of Moab. The blessing wouldn't work in Moab. That were a land of idolatry. They had all kinds of gods that they served. And God wasn't going to bless them leaving Bethlehem. That was His chosen place for His chosen people. But they went anyway. And then they found nothing but misery and heartache. The father died. That left Naomi, Ruth, and Oprah and the two boys. Well, they still had two men to kind of take care of the mother, but they had two wives also. Well, they were still in a bad shape. Finally, the two boys died. Now there are three women alone. Three women alone in that time in history. You were in trouble. You were in bad trouble. You were in peril. And right at the edge of starvation is where you would live, on the outside of society, picking little crumbs up where you could get them. And they didn't have welfare or anything like that at that time. So if you just starved to death, you just starved to death. And when you were in the land of all these gods, your neighbor would sit there and watch you starve to death. They didn't care. They had no compassion at all on each other. There was no compassion. There was no indwelling of the Holy Spirit. And there was no love of God in that land. So they didn't know anything about it. Well, after the two boys had died, there's nothing left for her and the two girls. She said, I'm going back to Bethlehem. I'm going back to the land of my God, my fathers. She knew she wouldn't have it easy, but she had some kinfolk in Israel, in Bethlehem. And she said, well, maybe I can scrape out a living going from kinfolk to kinfolk, and doing that I have people I can depend on. So she strikes out and looks behind her. Here comes Ruth and Oprah. And she said, oh, wait a minute. Y'all need to go back to the land of your husbands. Y'all need to go back there so y'all can escape the famine. I don't need you to go with me. First off, because the tradition would be that they marry the next male child below their two husbands. If a husband died, then you would be expected to marry him. How about that? I'm thinking of some scenarios right now. Then I'm saying so-and-so would have had to marry so-and-so. Wow! Yeah, buddy! That would have been a good one. Amen. Thank God we ain't got that going on no more tonight. Praise the Lord. Say you love him to death, but you don't want to be married to his brother. Amen. But that was the tradition of the day. And that's what she said. You got your husband's family there, and we're going down the line. You'll have a line. I'm not going to have any more kids. If I do, I'm an old woman, and I don't think there's any more male childs in me. But if I have one, then you have to wait till he was grown, you know. And she said, what are you going to do? Wait around till he grows up? And then she said, you'll keep him from getting married. When it said you would cause him to stay, when it said you'll cause him to stay, that means he couldn't marry nobody but them. Now you're telling that boy, 30-year-old boy, he's got to marry a 75-year-old 92 woman. Oh, that's the way the tradition goes. That's what the law. Wow. And she said, I don't think you need to wait around for that. You know, she said, y'all need to go on back to your land because that ain't happening. And she said, really, I ain't looking for a man. But if I was to go crazy and want one, we can't bear no children. And if we did, you'd have to wait till it's grown and married. So, out of the question. And Oprah kind of counted her pennies and said, you know what? You might be right, I'm gone. Back to her land, the land of her people. And she assumed Ruth was going to do the same thing. Well, all of a sudden she strikes out again and stops and looks. Behind her, here comes Ruth. She said, why don't you do like your sister-in-law did? Go on now and go to your families, go to that land. Don't depend on me for another son. You need to go on. And Ruth said, I'm not going, I'm going with you. Wherever you live, I live. Wherever you die, I die. And I'll take your God for mine. And that's when Ruth got saved. And you think about this, you look at that and say, wow. But she take a big step. She took a big step of faith. God saved her because of it. But not only that, you'll see her in the book of Matthew, I believe, in the genealogy of Jesus. Ruth's in there. Ruth is in the ancestors of our Lord. Praise God. Marrying and hooking into Boaz really paid some pretty good dividends. Amen. I mean, it took care of some stuff. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet. I want us to slow down just a little bit. Because there's a lot of lessons right here to be taught. I want you to think about it. Ruth let's look at verse 17. Let's look at it for a minute. She said, where you die, I'll die, and there I'll be buried. And the Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part you and me. It's one of the greatest statements ever made in the Bible, one of the greatest affirmations of salvation found in the entire Word of God. It's right there. In essence, it is that which must characterize all of us who claim to be in Christ. We have to abandon the world. Have to abandon it. And listen, Ruth had never been to Bethlehem. She's never went and scoped out the land and seen what it would be like to live with the children of Israel. She strictly by faith said, I'm trusting your God, and I'm going into the land of Israel. And I'll trust your God. And I will follow you into that land, and if that's where you die, that's where I die. Wherever you lodge, I'll lodge. Wherever you live, I live. And wherever you die, I'll die. What a statement. That's how we are when we came to Christ. We are supposed to have abandoned all of the flesh, all of the things that we would do ourselves, and give the thing over to God. And that's what Ruth has just done here. Can I tell you how much in vain it is to worry as a child of God, to sit and worry? I'm not saying don't be concerned with something, express your position on it. Let it go. If it's something you can't control, don't waste one more minute worrying on it. There'll be plenty for you to be concerned about and mull over and all that in the future. Let that thing go into God's hands. And now when you're reminded of it, just say, thank you, Lord. That's yours. Thank you, Lord. And you don't have to bring anything and explain to him what you mean. You just thank him that we've got a God that we can just pass our burdens off to, things that we can't change or can't do anything about. We got a God that'll take them. And he'll see us through them. Sometimes we just got to, just like Ruth, close our eyes and trust God. We don't have an explanation. We don't have a remedy. We don't have a solution. We don't know. But we do know the one that does know. He knows. He knows everything. And I can tell you right now, if you just picked up in where Ruth is right now, you go, oh boy, this girl is in rough shape. She's in a bad, bad way. And here we go best thing that ever happened to her. Amen. There was no chance what does wound up happening to her, being able to happen to her if she'd have went back into her homeland. No chance at all. But she was bearing the uncertainty, and God blessed mightily with the outcome. And remember, she didn't have the Bible to read. She couldn't go and read the book of Ruth and encourage herself. There wasn't no book of Ruth yet written. See? So she's looking at it we're looking back at it. She was looking forward to it. There's no book of Ruth in the Bible that she read. So she decides to go with Naomi. Ruth said, entreat me not to leave you or to return from following after you. For where you go, I'll go, and you lodge, I'll lodge. And your people be my people, and your God my God. I will die, and I will be buried where you're buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if all but death part you and me. Like I said, the greatest statement ever made. She will forever throw her lot in with those who worship Jehovah God. Even when she dies, she does not want to be sent back to Moab. Now that was a tradition that everybody insisted upon, being buried back in the homeland. She said, I want to be buried in Bethlehem. You don't care me. I don't want nothing. I want to turn yesterday so loose that I don't even want to be carried back there and buried there. Don't even keep the tradition of sending me back home or sending my body back home. You dig a hole, you put me there. Because that's where God led me. That's where God provided for me. That's where God will take care of me at. You plant me right there in that ground. And when Naomi, saw that Ruth, was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. Steadfastly minded. I love that term, steadfastly minded. Must be the character of every believer. Steadfastly minded. That means even the devil himself can't shake you off the perch God's put you on. The rock God set your feet on. Even the devil himself can shake you off. Steadfastly minded. I don't care. Bust, break, or blister, I'm staying where God put me, and I ain't moving till He moves me. And He can move me, and you'll know without a doubt that the move is a positive thing, and it is a blessing by God, and then you'll know you won't have any aching in your heart like, I want to stay, Lord. Don't make me go. Yes, sir. That'll be way behind you. You'll be fully convinced of the Lord. The Lord don't want His children running around hanging out here and there at that church, this church, that church. He don't want us hanging out. He wants us standing up, standing on for Him, wherever He plants us at. Now, has He ever moved people? Sure He has. He's moved lots of people. Even out of this church, He's moved them. In all different kinds of ways, He's moved them. You see what I'm saying? But I'm telling you, you'll be thoroughly convinced that God is ready for you to move. And if you hadn't heard that yet, stand still. And if you don't know what to do, don't do nothing. Without some kind of leadership, without some direction from God, without God stepping in and showing you how He's going to help you, or at least the beginning of the journey, stay where you are. Stay put. Especially, hey, there may be the enemy right around the corner to take your life, destroy your family, to be waiting here right around the corner. And God knows. Amen. God knows who's lurking around the corner. So if you make a decision like this, make sure God's at the head of it. And don't figure out later on, well, I should have talked to God about that. What? Because listen, you're going to put yourself and your family through a trial that did not have to take place. It didn't have to take place. But if God's convinced you, there ought not be a team of horses to make you stay. And if God don't, it take a team of horses to pull you off that rock that God set your feet on. That's the way it's supposed to be. Ruth said, look, Mama, I'm going with you. There ain't no question about it. I'm going where God's leading me. I'm going where God's leading me. So they too went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them. And they said, is this Naomi? Probably doesn't do justice to the truth. It's rough. Naomi looked rough. They said, is that sack of bones walking down the street out there, Naomi? Y'all come here and look. She looks like a dead sack of bones. Hey, y'all come here and look. It's Naomi. And she said, look, don't call me Naomi. Call me Mama, I'm bitter. She said, I gave nothing but bitterness. You better be careful. You better be careful. When you say, I'm following the leadership of God, and you not really hear the voice of God, and you lead yourself to a place of bitterness, to where you don't do anything but hurt. Everybody, have you ever met anybody that's bitter? I have. Bitter folks. Bitter folks. Everywhere. They're everywhere. And I'm telling you, it's the children of God that determined to rebel against God. And God said, I'll let you have your way. And open that floodgate on their life. And lead them to nothing but bitterness. But bitterness is not what God is trying to accomplish with this whole story. That's not what He's trying to accomplish. The words they said proclaims a wealth of information. When you think about this, they carry the idea that the poverty which enveloped Naomi was obvious to everybody. She looked rough. Besides that, her husband and her 2 sons were absent, meaning they were dead. When they looked and seen Naomi coming with just Ruth, and the husband and the 2 sons not leading the way, because that's the way it would have went in those days. The husband, the sons, the mother, and the 2 daughter-in-laws would have walked in rank. And they knew that. There wasn't no husband, wasn't no 2 boys, wasn't nothing but Naomi left. And they go, well, Elimelech and the 2 boys had died. She had really went through it. Ruth and Naomi had really been through it. So they were dead. As well, above all, she is accompanied by a Moabitish woman, which was a reproach within itself. They would literally be saying to her, Ruth, who is that dog following you? Because that's the way they considered the Gentile, as a dog. They didn't consider them even worthy of salvation. They didn't think God would ever save them. And there is one of them walking right behind Naomi. And they'd be saying, who's that dog you got with you? They would literally be that named. That's the way that people were treated. Little did the people of Bethlehem realize that this Moabitish woman would be an ancestor of their Messiah. Don't judge a book by its cover, right? Don't judge a book by its cover. A lady called me today and said, well, I don't have a dress. Do y'all allow pants in y'all's church? I said, baby, if you can get dressed, you got something to get dressed on, come on. Hey, you wear the best God's provided for you, and that's good enough for me. Amen. Now, we ain't like that for sure. But you did ask that question. And, you know, which surprised me. But. So let's look a little further here. She said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara, which means bitter. For the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. Now this was not correct. The Lord had not dealt bitterly with Naomi. while problems may be allowed by the Lord, they are because of wrongdoing, and certainly not His.
Amen.
They are because of wrongdoing, but God ain't the wrongdoer. God's not guilty of anything. God doesn't need to apologize to any of us. He's never done us wrong. He never will. God don't do things that are wrong. He only does what's just. He couldn't do anything to make her bitter. That wasn't His intention. Looking at the next verse. This is Naomi's mindset. I went out full, and the Lord had brought me home again empty. In her thinking, empty describes her situation. However, she was far more full than she realized. Ruth would prove to be the greatest blessing of all unbelievers. And though Naomi took it in, or considered it to be emptiness, she was about to be filled. But she was fuller than she had ever imagined, just being a child of God. You see, I may lose. I may take a lick every now and then. But I'm not a child of the devil, and I'm not going to be taken out. My trial is not going to take me out. It may take me down, and it may keep me down for a while. But my God's able to lift me back up, set my feet on the rock, put me on the path to prosperity, to fullness, to peace. And that never changes. Listen to me. I don't care what the trial is. It doesn't matter to me what the trial is. It may seem to have brought you so low. So low. But God can deliver even from those depths. I don't care how low it gets or how bad the things are. I'm telling you, God's got a better day ahead of you than what was behind you. And we all have to cling to the truth of I don't really have anything for you today, to be honest with you. I don't have nothing for you. There's some things that happened in my yesterday that I have no reason to bring back up to my memory. I don't need to rewalk them in my mind. Those things are gone. Especially those things that are having an effect on my future. If my yesterday starts to affect my tomorrow, then I need to take care of this problem with yesterday. Somehow or another. And most of the time it'll take just God's grace alone to deliver me from my cotton picking. Yesterday's what's got me down. Yesterday's what's dragging me around. I used to say you drug yesterday around, but I tell you most of the time yesterday dragged you. When? When I go back into the vault of misery of past time, of hurt and pain of yesterday, I need to keep that vault closed. Throw away the key. Forget that yesterday thing. Why? I don't ever have it today. Why? Because I'm worried about tomorrow. Why? Because of my yesterday. Can you leave yesterday alone? Just honest with you. And I wanted to try to get in touch with Seth after he left the house and was married. But I wanted to say something to him. And I'm going to get it with him either today or tomorrow. Just think about the wedding, the marriage, the vows. What you do, talking about him and Jesse, what you do from here forward, smooth sailing. Listen, you can go ahead and make the boundaries of your life. We don't fuss and fight. We don't hold our kids over each other's heads. We don't do, and you can look at it and say, you know what, yesterday? I made a vow in my yesterday when me and this girl married. that this wasn't going to stop us, this wasn't going to stop us, this wasn't going to stop us, and if it raised its head, we were going to cut its head off immediately. Boy, wouldn't you like to be able to go, because listen to me, because today will be there yesterday tomorrow. You follow me? Today's going to be there yesterday tomorrow. And if they could do yesterday or today right, they could look back at it tomorrow and say, I like that one. Amen? And then the next day you can get lined up what's ahead of you, because it's going to be behind you tomorrow. And you could have pleasant yesterdays instead of bitter yesterdays. Amen. Just like getting saved. I'd like to go get saved again. Really. I really would. Though I have the same benefit, I know that He's faithful and just to forgive me and cleanse me from all unrighteousness. I'll confess. I know that. But it's just something about that salvation day that cleansed me so much and made me feel so clean and so close to God. And I let it slip away one yesterday at a time. You know, one yesterday at a time. But man, if I could go back to my yesterday, but I can't. I can't. So there's no need in losing any sleep over my yesterdays. So Naomi returned, and Ruth, the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest. Of course, this would have been in April. In the barley harvest, which in fact it would have been April. In effect, the Holy Spirit says, when I see the blood, I pass over you. There is no sin the blood can't cover up. There is no life and cleansing that the blood can't do. And it'll change Ruth. It'll change them. The blood will change you. Amen. When Ruth decided that she would follow God, this is a typology of Christ and the blood. She left her yesterday, walked in to her tomorrow, and began living the life and began to put into process God's plan for their life. I would, if I couldn't return back to the point of where I was saved at, if I could just be taken back to the first time that I decided to rebel against God. Boy, if I could catch me by the nape of the neck and shake me really good, I wouldn't have done some of those things. I wouldn't have done some of those things. I would have listened, because I was saved about 15 years old. And I would have done a whole lot different. You know why? I don't know if anybody ever told me that. Which I'm sure they did, I just wasn't paying attention. And a 15-year-old boy, brain dead, he was sitting in church listening. And he's sitting in church with a girl down on the other view down there that he wants to talk to. Or something like that. So, but if somebody had grabbed me by the shoulders, you know, and shook me and said, hey, let yesterday alone. Get ready for tomorrow and live in today. Man, would I have been way ahead. I probably wouldn't have listened to it. Just like I didn't listen to the ones that did try to help me out, you know. But I think we could all look back and say, you know, doggone it, Mama was right. Daddy was right. I hate to give Daddy credit for anything, being right. But now, as I look back 30 years later, I say, hey, the old man knows something. Right? He knew something about what he was talking about. At least some. He didn't listen to him either, but he sure learned it somewhere. So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. 7 minutes left. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband. Remember that word. Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. At that time, like I said, there was no welfare. But the people of wealthier acclaim, landowners and those that farmed, they were encouraged to not cut the corners of the field. When the plows and the things they used to gather the barley with would come around to that corner, they'd just cut the corner off and cut across diagonally, and they would save the corner for the poor. The poor would come to the fields and glean whatever they could out of the corners, and glean whatever they could as they followed the barley pickers as they harvested the barley and whatever fell loose on the ground. That's how they were taken care of. That was their welfare program, is they went into the rich landowners' fields, and the rich landowner told their servants, don't cut the corners. Diagonally across them, give it to the poor. That's what it was there for. And that's what she said. She said, I'm going out to glean the corners of the field. And Naomi said, go at it. Go do it. Just in a little while, she's going to be very surprised. Ruth the Moabitess said to Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean the ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace. And what they did, they went to the landowner and they said, can I pick in your corners? Can I pick out the corners of your fields? And if one showed her favor, in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And her hap was too light on a part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and said unto the reapers, the Lord be with you. And they answered him, the Lord bless thee. Then said Boaz unto his servant that was set over the reapers, whose damsel is this? And we see, say, who's that girl out there? Who's the girl out there? The servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, it is the Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the land of Moab. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after reapers among the sheaves. So she came and hath continued even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. Then said Boaz unto Ruth, hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from thence or hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. Let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? And when thou art athirst, go into the vessel and drink of that which the young men have drawn. And she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground and said to him, why have I found grace in thine eyes, that thou shouldest take knowledge of me, seeing I am a stranger? And Boaz answered and said unto her, it hath fully been showed to me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thine husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother and the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knewest not hitherfore. The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward be given unto thee. For the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust, under whose wings thou hast come to trust. Boaz said, you don't have to go find another field. Don't worry about the other fields, that I got plenty in my field. There's no reason for you to go anywhere else. Not only that, when you get thirsty, I've done told my boys to don't touch you unless you drink of the water that they've drawn. So I'm going to take care of you. Amen. Boaz kind of getting interested in Ruth and how much work she's having to do and all of that, and really consuming him. Just wait a little while, you'll see how much God truly blesses Ruth and Naomi through coming back to Bethlehem and following the Lord's direction. You'll never be able to call her Mara anymore, because Ruth or Naomi is about to be blessed as much as anyone could be. Though bad things have happened, I want to remind all of us, bad things can happen. And it can happen to the best of people. Listen, it's not just limited to this class of people or that class of people or whatever, or however you measure people. It's not according to that at all. It's according to the grace of God. Yes. And our obedience to Him is how God blesses. And, or not. And every one of us needs to realize that God's in it with us. You don't have to talk to God like He's on the outside, or He's on the inside and you can't get in. You got in when you ask Jesus to save you. You got in. And you're in. And God's not on the outside looking in. He's in the midst of your problem. He's aware. So before you go all half-cocked, half understanding what you ought to do, and just say, well, that's enough, let me go. I think I seen a little bit of hope over here, a little bit of hope over there, I'm just going to shoot over there, I think there's some hope over there. Just because you caught a glimpse of that, don't mean it was God sent. You check everything out. God doesn't have to say anything but one time for it to be true. God will deliver you out of the despair that you're in. You could say it this way: because of Calvary, I'm already delivered. I just got to catch up with my delivering and my deliverer. Because honestly, I'm already set loose and set free. And the battle's over in God's eyes, in God's mind. The battle is in my brain right now. But in God's eyes, I've already been delivered of whatever it is, in whatever situation. You think about your situation now. Think about your situation now. Think about a God that can speak the earth into existence by the words of His mouth. When He stepped into your problem, your circumstance, your situation, when He stepped into that, He's the victor. He's already won. He just needs you to get in line and hear Him. He's already won the battle. And that covers every battle in the room. I don't care what it is. And you just sit there and say, well, this one here, kind of, I don't think God's going to. Don't shortchange God. He's aware of everything, and He cares about everything, and He cares about everybody. And He has already delivered you. You just have to walk in the deliverance. Let's stand. Father, as we close, one word. No one comes. You're here tonight. You say, boy, I thank God coming to the fields I've been picking in, because it's slim pickings in the corner where I've been picking at. And it's getting hard. He needs to come on with that delivery. When you look to Him in faith, believe and trust in Him, He'll deliver. You're here lost and don't know Him as Savior, He'll deliver tonight. He'll come to where you are. Let's pray. Father, as we close, have your way now, God. Lord, I see the despair in the lives of so many people that I deal with, or that I minister to through a day. Oh, Lord, I see at the top of the mountain one circumstance and the bottom of the valley in the other. So God, I ask you to be with each one, that they don't get too careless on the mountaintop that they fall off. and the one in the valley not get too discouraged that they quit on God. So Lord, you have your way, and if there's a lost one among us, bring them to salvation in Christ's name.